Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're hyped up to be? The Terrible Book Club explores whether or not you really can judge a book by its cover or its ridiculous synopsis. If you've ever seen a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Hello and welcome to episode 60 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Chris, and this is Paris.
Hello.
This time we're roasting ourselves over here. There ain't no terrible books, it's just terrible us, Paris.
Yeah.
We've been wrong before. We have wronged you, listeners. We have done bad. Done a bad thing.
Yeah, I'll say this is part one of a volume that we're going to call All the Times We Were Wrong. Mm-hmm. We decided that it was about time to review any past missteps and things that we were wrong about on air. You know, we try to keep this show conversational and familiar, but the consequence of that at times is that one of us will say something that isn't quite right, downright false, or kind of cringy. So it's only fair that we reevaluate ourselves on a show that centers on criticism. In episode 30, so 30 episodes ago, we played Two Truths and a Lie. So we figured we could do another round of that today as well, in addition to dealing with some of the corrections from past episodes. So it's just kind of a fun episode. If this is your first time...
Let your hair down, just kick the shoes off, relax, grab a drink, and listen to how wrong we are about things.
Yeah. If this is your first time listening to the show, turn back now and pick another episode, because if you haven't listened...
This is the wrong choice.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to any of the back catalog, I mean, I guess it's fine. Like, I guess if you listen to this first, then you'll just get like a weird quick preview. Maybe... Oh, my mic just fell into my face.
There you go. It's punished. We're being punished already.
Yeah. Fucking Cereblo, we're trying to make amends here, all right? So, you know, I don't know, maybe it'd be okay if you listen to this first, but it might be a little weird. Typically, we read books that we assume will be bad, and we base this assumption on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. We also read books at the behest of our patrons, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. Yeah, but we're not doing that today. So, before we move on, I mean, for content warnings, it's like, look, we have our usual... We
could go anywhere today.
Yeah, we have our usual barnyard language, but, like, there's probably going to be a little bit of everything anyone could possibly consider offensive, because we're discussing so many past episodes, so... I don't know, if you feel like something might be an issue, I'm not going to sit here and literally list 70
some other episodes, get the flavor we're putting out here before, you know, this is for the true listeners that want to tell us how fucking wrong we are about something.
And before, you know, we get too far into the content of the show, I actually want to do some, like, our thanks and announcements at the beginning, because we usually do it at the end, but once in a while I like doing it at the beginning, just because, you know, a lot of people don't listen all the way to the end of every episode, and they miss the patron stuff, they miss the updates, so we're going to do it a little earlier in the show today. So first, let's thank all those patrons. We'd like to issue a hearty thanks to our current patrons.
All of them?
Yeah, the list is getting a little... unwieldy.
It's now so crowded that if all of these people were at a party at the same time, I would be anxious about being in a crowd. That's how many patrons we have now.
Wait, so are you saying if we ever get to the point where we do a meetup or like a small festival, you're going to be crouched in a corner sweating profusely?
No, here's the thing. If we're doing like a live show, like I'm on a stage, I'll be fine. I can be in front of a crowd. I can't be in a crowd.
All right. Well, now we all know one of Chris's fears, so get on exploiting that, listeners. Anyway, a hearty thanks to Dari, Greg, Will, Veronica, Dee, Jared, Lynn, Sinna, Jakub, Torben, aka Duck King, Bobby Blackcat, Jen Cena, and Ayame. Thank you, folks. You make each and every episode of Terrible Book Club possible. And you have recently just helped us fund our first run of Terrible Book Club merchandise. We just printed some bookmarks. They are going to all of our patrons for free. And we have a few extra hanging around that, you know, you might see around if you live where we live. If you don't, too bad.
Just saying.
So the bookmarks are going to get here, I think, on Tuesday. They're slated to be delivered. So once I receive them, I will ship them out. My band is also about to release an EP. Maybe tonight if I'm feeling frisky. Maybe Monday when I have time. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Actually, the Friday after this episode gets put out will be the official release. Maybe I'll put it out early on Bandcamp, too, but it'll be out on Spotify and all streaming services on Friday. The new Graveborn EP.
Sick. Did you make any physical merch?
Not quite yet. I'm thinking about it, though.
Cool. Yeah, my band, Concilium, we are putting out an EP. I don't know, maybe tonight, but probably Monday. So yeah, by the time you hear this, I think our EP will be out. So if you're into epic heavy metal, epic doom metal, check it out. Concilium.
Concilium. One L, very important.
Concilium.
Concilium.
I don't even know if I spelled it right there. Anyway, no one gives a shit about my fucking heavy metal band, so fuck me, whatever. If you want to help support this show,
Same.
Terrible Book Club, you can head over to patreon.com/join/Terrible Book Club, and you can join the illustrious list of names that we read earlier. At the $5 a month level or higher, you can enjoy special video segments, and what is essentially just Mystery Science Theater 3000 with me and Chris, where we watch movies or TV shows that are usually like companions to books we've read on the podcast, although right now we are commenting on the second season of the OA, the Netflix show. So
it's been a ride, as I expected it to be.
Dude, shit got real in the last one we watched, so I think it's worth it.
Some parts were so good, though.
Yeah, for like I think
there was an hour where it was really good.
Yeah, but it was like the end of one episode into like halfway through the next one. It was like 1 hour of content that was acceptable. Anyway, so if you are, if you're not into contributing to the Patreon, that's fine. You can always just tell people to listen to the show, share it on social media. Word of mouth is really helpful. You can say hi and interact with us on the internet. You can send us an email to terriblebookclub@gmail.com. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, or Facebook. And lastly, you can do us a favor and help passively generate income for the show, so not directly, so you don't have to give us money, by downloading the Radio Public app and listening to us on there. What that does is it gives us 2 cents for every play of our show, and it gives us an extra $1 bonus if you listen to 3 episodes in a row. And the Radio Public folks are the ones who helped us make our website, so they're pretty cool. Their app is great. I use it myself, and I am not paid for this advertisement. This is just my opinion. So, and also I just it'd be cool to get some pennies for the show.
Yes,
so
I like pennies.
Yeah.
Someone edit that into something far worse, please.
You can also review the show somewhere. So if you can, cool. If not, whatever.
Just shout it into the streets. Just open your window and review Terrible Book Club.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
Let everyone know.
It is summer in our hemisphere. I'm not sure what the temperature is where you are. Considering I don't know, I feel like a lot of our listeners are not in the U.S. It's weird, but shout from your window, from your rooftop, from your balcony, from your school bus, from the subway, wherever,
anywhere. Just start randomly rabbling about it.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I was gonna say, now that we have talked about no real content for 13 minutes,
let's get to the good stuff. Probably something that a loyal, longtime listeners might have been looking forward to again, because this was a pretty fun thing when we did it last time. But I've prepared a little. Not two truths, one lie in this case. I have a bunch of categories here. They are all titles of books that I have found, except one of them will be fake within the category. So each category will have 5 titles of books.
Okay.
Under the category. One of them is one that I made up. It is your objective to try to figure out which one was created in the stew of my mind, the cauldron of my brain folds.
You know, I do recall. I think we kind of did this in the gluten book episode, right?
That's exactly right.
But the last time we did something like this for the whole episode was when I created a bunch of fake book titles, summaries, and authors. I created a whole fucking world for Chris to guess on.
They were really good. I didn't go
fun.
that far. I just made titles up. But anyway.
Yeah. All right.
Paris, you have 6 categories, and therefore there are 30 titles before you. So I'm going to give you the categories here, and you will just be able to select the category in any order, and I'll give you the titles.
All
here
right.
we go.
Understood.
Your categories are cowboy romance, weird cookbooks, bad advice, baseball romance,
what?
Sci-fi fantasy failures, and poop help.
Okay. Great.
Make your choice, please.
You know what? Let's go for a classic. Let's start with sci-fi fantasy failures.
Okay.
Sci-fi fantasy failures for 100, Chris.
Okay. Well, it's only one question, so you know.
Fuck.
This will be just a hodgepodge of sci-fi or fantasy book titles. And here we go. Your titles are Star Wars Alphabet Squadron. Okay, that's just the first one. You got 4 more to go.
Wait, is that like an alphabet? Fuck, I can't.
I'm not going to tell you any of the content of the books because I didn't make up anything for the fake one, so I can't.
But like, that has to be like a learn the alphabet with Luke Skywalker.
I'll let you know at what you pick. I'll let you know about the real ones.
I wasn't expecting the first one to get me. Jesus.
Okay, Star Wars Alphabet Squadron.
Okay.
Harley Merlin and the Secret Coven.
Okay.
Froomb.
I'm sorry, could you spell that, please?
FROOMB !
Okay. Oh, that's it?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Your 4th title is To Like the Lightning.
Like TOO?
Yes.
Like you're too... Okay,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. And your 5th title is The Chair of Crowns.
I can't believe I'm already crying.
We've got so many more categories.
It's too early for me to be in tears.
Starting out good after 13 minutes of opening.
Jesus.
Would you like to hear them again?
No.
Okay.
Please, God, no.
So, which one's the fake one, Paris?
Okay, there's only one that's fake?
Yes, there's only one that's fake.
Oh, no. Okay. Alphabet Squadron?
Alphabet Squadron is a real book.
Oh, fuck. God, is
it's
it really
about
what I thought?
it's a Star Wars expanded universe book about a squadron of fighter pilots that pilot. One's an A-wing pilot, one's a B-wing pilot, one's an X-wing pilot, one's a Y-wing pilot.
Wait, what's
so
a
Alphabet
B-wing?
Squadron.
What's
a B-wing is like a bomber.
Oh,
it's like it's a different kind. It looks really weird. It's the weirdest looking Star Wars ship. Okay, so
all right. Well, I suck. Sorry.
Would you like to, the fake one was The Chair of Crowns.
Oh, damn it! I thought that was too stupid. It had to be real. Like, I figured that was like a mistranslation of a foreign title.
No, that's I actually went to like a fake fantasy novel name generator, and I just kept hitting randomize until I got something that was believable but still stupid. All right, Paris, you got 5 more categories here. I'm only going to let you guess once because otherwise we're going to be sitting here forever.
No.
So,
wait, what?
I said I'm only going to let you guess once.
Well, yeah, that's fine. All right.
Okay.
Fucking hit me with some cowboy romance. That shit's pretty
Cowboy romance coming up. Okay. So, your titles for cowboy romance are Fire on the Farm, Cocky Cowboy, Jackson Cocker Cocky Cowboy series.
Okay. Wow, I just had to get cock in there as many times as possible. All right.
Ranch for 3, Longhorn Loving Hung Hunks series.
Oh, Jesus.
And Pardner's Trust, Partner with a D.
All right, it's got to be the cock one. Final answer.
So you're saying Cocky Cowboy Jackson Cocker Cocky Cowboy series is the fake one?
Yes.
That is a real book, Paris.
No.
The fake one was Longhorn Loving Hung Hunk series.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
Your microphone is once again punishing you.
Yeah, sorry. Jeez. I'm just going to hold this. All right.
Okay. Fair enough.
No, actually, I thought that you made a more real title.
I know, right? Right?
That's crazy. Good job.
Right?
Wow, all right. I'm fucking
I was kind of proud of that one. All right, you got 4 more. Plenty of time to prove yourself. Just a win.
No, I don't. I think I'm fucked.
All right, what's your next category, Paris?
Ooh, can we do, what was that, like, poop tips or something?
Poop help.
Poop help. Okay, yeah, let's do
so
poop help.
So these are all books about needing help to go poop, usually focused on very young children to help, get them going, perhaps. So here are your titles. I can't. I won't. No way. What if everybody did that? Bloop bloop goes the poop. Potty party. And finally, toot.
Fuck. Potty party.
Yes, that is the fake one, Paris. Congratulations.
Yes, I got one. Woo.
What was your reasoning there?
Well,
was that just a gut call?
No. Yeah, my intestines knew the answer to the poop one. That's how I phoned a friend. Phoned my intestines. My lower intestine. I'm not really sure what my reasoning is. You always fuck me up by asking my goddamn reasoning. I don't know.
All right. You don't have
Jesus.
to provide it. I was just curious on that one since it was your first right one. All right,
know.
you have 3 more categories here. Paris, make your decision, please.
Weird cookbooks or whatever.
Okay, weird cookbooks. So this is all just different from all walks of any kind of cookbookery there is. Okay. Your titles are Microwave Cooking for One, A Seat at the Table, Meals for You and Your Pet, Outlander Kitchen, yes, the TV show.
Oh, fucking...
Thug Kitchen, Eat Like You Give a Fuck. And finally, Forks Over Knives, 300 recipes for plant-based eating throughout the year.
Considering I own one of those and know that many of the... I think I know all of the ones that are real,
Which one do you own, Paris? I bet I know which one you own.
Well, Trisket bought me Thug Kitchen for a birthday gift.
Oh, good.
And I've read parts of Forks Over Knives.
Wow. This is...
And I've heard of...
home field advantage here.
I've heard of Microwave Cooking for One, and I've heard of the pet one, so it must be the Outlander one.
Paris, you've heard of the one that I made up?
I think you might have made up something that actually exists.
Yeah, Outlander Kitchen is totally real, by the way.
Fuck. I just thought that because you've been watching that, you made...
I know, that's why I included it as the fake But I can't believe that I made a title so real or so close to... Maybe I subconsciously made something, but I figured...
was it the microwave one?
No, a seat at the table, meals for you and your pet.
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe you might have... Maybe a seat at the table isn't right, but there's definitely meals for you and your pet cookbooks. Like, I'm going to look them up right now.
It's supposed to be... I thought...
Cooking for Two, your dog and you.
There it is.
Yeah,
okay,
sorry, that's the one I thought it was. I just got confused because you made up something that is so close to reality.
Well,
Good job.
All right.
You really you were on the pulse of those weird cookbooks. I thought for sure you were going to include cooking with semen.
It's just too obvious.
Yeah, I guess that's
right. I figured you would know that one, but I guess you knew everything else already in the category.
Hey man, like I'm a vegetarian dabbling in veganism. I fucking have to read a lot about cooking shit.
I like to eat too.
Oh, dude, actually, can we take a break for not a break, but like I just want to say I bought a Vitamix, and they're really fucking expensive, but like I got a good deal on one. But like, man, I've had 4 smoothies today. Like, I have a problem now. It's so easy to make.
Is that why you were kind of lethargic at the start of this? Just like all the sugar, you did a massive crash after your fucking smoothie binge over here. How many smoothies are in front of you right now, Paris?
None. There are no smoothies in this room.
I see. Getting off on a technicality.
I'm just saying, like, don't waste your time like I did for years buying blenders that are just gonna, like, break after a few months or a year. Like, fucking invest in the goddamn Vitamix. It's a lot of money, but it's fucking worth it. I can make all kinds of crazy shit. It's really easy. Sorry, I just feel like I need to tell people so they don't go down the path that I went down.
All this free advertising for, like, corporations. Like, are you actually getting sponsored? You're just, like, cutting me out of it? Like, you're acting...
Yeah, that's actually how I got the Vitamix. Like, they were like, Terrible Book Club listeners like to drink smoothies, right?
Why does Paris get to be the influencer? I can influence. I stay inside all day, but that doesn't mean I can't influence.
I mean, all influencing is done via Instagram anyway, right? Anyway, smoothies are great. Get a fucking nice blender. Don't waste money and your time by buying a bunch of cheap little ones. Anyway.
Vitamix, send us a check. Anyway, you've got 2 categories left, Paris.
All right.
Make your choice.
Bad advice?
Bad advice. Okay.
Yep.
Your titles are How to Improve Your Marriage Without Talking About It. The Witch's Book of Self-Care, Magical Ways to Pamper, Soothe, and Care for Your Body and Spirit. Agent of Influence, How to Use Spy Skills to Persuade Anyone, Sell Anything, and Build a Successful Business. Big Dick Energy, How to Flirt and Fuck Like a Porn Star.
Ugh.
And finally, Angel Numbers, the messages and meanings behind 1111 and other number sequences.
Okay, I think this is another case where you made up a book that's real. Because I feel like I have heard of all of these. Actually, no. The first one's fake.
How to Improve Your Marriage Without Talking About It?
Yes, correct.
That's a real book.
God damn it! Okay,
Which I think it's hilarious to think about, just like this guy writing a book. He's like, listen, I'll fix all your problems. You don't even have to talk to her. You don't even have to say anything, and I'll be able to fix it. Don't worry.
Like, what is his plan, though? Just
I didn't read the summary on this one, but that's what inspired the category to be bad advice.
Maybe he just means how to improve your marriage without talking directly about how the marriage is failing or troubled. Maybe he means, like, just do the actions to make it better. You don't need to talk about it. That's what I hope, anyway.
Still seems like bad advice.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like good advice. But
anyway,
God damn it, I think you made up one that exists, because I feel like I've heard of the latter 4.
Well, the one I made up was Big Dick Energy, How to Flirt and Fuck Like a Porn Star.
Really?
Yep.
Why do I think that that's real?
Angel Numbers is a real book.
Oh, I know that is. Big Dick Energy,
man.
How to... I'm gonna look this up.
You're gonna... there's no way I, like, subconsciously, like, stole that.
I think you may have. Oh, I'm just getting a bunch of Pornhub links.
Nice.
Oh my god, okay. Typing in...
What did you fucking expect?
I typed into Google... Oh, shit. I'm signed into the Terrible Book Club account. I don't care what's on that history. That's fine.
Get some nice ads now.
I typed in Big Dick Energy, how to flirt and fuck like a porn star. The first link is Big Dick Energy on Snapchat, Pornhub.com. The second one is Big Dick Energy, all in caps, Pornhub.com. The third link is Porn Hat Tube, Porn Biz.
I've got my porn hat on. It's what I put on I'm naked except for the hat, is how this works.
Porn Hat Tube, Porn Biz. The fourth link is black.
Wait, so it's a hat, a tube, and a business. This is very multifunctional.
The fourth link is blacked. So BLACKED.
Oh God.
Blacked, strong
Paris.
Black man fucks blonde tourist on the beach.
All right, Paris. I think we don't need to go much further.
No, I'm not gonna continue. But like, oh no. Wait, no. I'm gonna search for Big Dick Energy book though.
I think you're gonna get the same thing.
No, I got that Big Dick Energy BDE Notebook Diary Journal, a complete guide to Big Dick Energy. I don't know.
I'm sure someone's made a time. All right, you've got one category left, Paris.
Yeah,
and it's baseball romances. This is the
fucking
one.
Christ! What the hell?
What?
I just don't understand how you can how can you have romances around like the most boring sport of all time? Like I don't understand. Well,
you live in Boston, Paris. How dare you?
Oh, I have been to Red Sox games and I have suffered through every minute. Of course, the 2 games I was fucking dragged to like a decade or so ago, they both went into extra innings. So I was there for like what's normal? What's a normal number of innings? 7?
9 is how long a baseball game is.
So so they both went to like 11.
All right, I mean that's like 4.5 hours out of your life. But
I wanted to fucking die both times.
Anyway, here are your baseball romance titles: Stealing Sawyer, Pitch Please, Double Play, Third Base, and Bottom of the Ninth.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat them all again?
Stealing Sawyer, Pitch Please, Double Play, Third Base, Bottom of the Ninth.
I don't know. Those are tough.
Yeah, this one was like really kind of basic bitch stuff over here.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Stealing Sawyer, Pitch Please,
Double Play,
Third Base, Bottom of the Ninth. All right, Third Base is really obvious, so you probably didn't make that one up. Pitch Please.
That is a real book.
I thought you were really clever. I'm giving you too much credit, Chris. That's my problem. That's why I'm losing.
I made up Double Play.
Oh, good job.
So you got, I believe you got Poop Help is the one that you succeeded with. So
because I phoned a friend. Because I called my lower intestine.
Trust your gut. All right, Paris. Well, that was pretty fun. I hope you enjoyed my smorgasbord of titles for you.
Dude, those first couple sections were fucking hilarious. I was not expecting
Sci-fi fantasy failures was indeed my favorite one. As soon as I saw Star Wars Alphabet Squadron,
I just imagined it as like a book teaching children the alphabet through like Star Wars characters.
Reasonable. No, it's a totally serious novel about starfighters.
Y is for Yoda. Or Yoda is for Y.
All right, Paris. Well, that was my game.
Great. Good job, Chris. It was fun.
You've survived.
I mean, I failed miserably, but yeah, I survived. All right, so as regular listeners, you may know that we have a bunch of original episodes that are lost, so we were unable to review any of the lost episodes, so like unfortunately, there's going to be no content from those because we don't remember what the fuck we said and the episodes don't exist anymore. So, well. So what we did is we spent many excruciating hours re-listening to ourselves from years ago, and let me tell you, that was extremely unpleasant. I do not want to do it again, but I have to. Because this is only going to be part one.
We didn't even get through all of the episodes.
No. Well, because we have, I mean, even the episodes that exist, there's about 50 of them. Because I think we're missing like 10 or 9 of the originals. And it's just a lot of content, and it's really tough to listen to yourself. From like even a year ago or 2 years ago, I actually noticed that my voice sounds totally different from the episodes we recorded 4 years ago. It's really weird. Anyway. We broke these down into odds and evens, so I'm odds. So I'm going to start with our very first episode, the Overton Window. So in the Overton Window, I was incredulous that the book asserted that you could get Tootsie Rolls from a vending machine. I was like, this is ridiculous. Tootsie Rolls aren't vending machines. Fucking, this is dumb. Yeah, well, I guess...
the first stand you made on the podcast.
Yeah, the first
stance you took. There ain't no fucking Tootsie Rolls in no vending machines.
Well, because in New England, where I grew up, or I should say more specifically in Massachusetts, no one I know... I asked everyone I know who has grown up in New England, and none of us have ever seen Tootsie Rolls and vending machines. You know, not the little mini ones, but the large, like, block ones.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can get those in vending machines, but I'm not sure where that is common, because where I grew up, it just isn't a thing. So I was wrong about that. You can get the large, like, skinny block Tootsie Rolls from vending machines. And when I was researching this is a thing I had to research. I found that there are a bunch of like specialty wrapped Tootsie Rolls. And if you remember anything about the Overton window, it was a very like Murica book. And I found Murica Tootsie Rolls that were just
like wrapped in the flag or whatever?
Yes, little tiny Tootsie Rolls wrapped in the American flag.
Real patriotic. We covered up these hard taffy, vaguely kind of chocolate flavored rolls in the flag.
Yeah,
support your country by chewing on this old hard chocolate log.
Yeah. All right, so I was wrong about that. Tootsie Rolls are indeed in vending machines.
See, listeners, we can admit when we're wrong about simple things.
There's a lot of admissions.
Yes, I know.
So the second thing we got so Chris was amused by the fact that I became obsessed with a certain statement in the book. I guess in the Overton window there was, I don't know if there was like a quote or it was just in the book somewhere. I didn't actually check the text itself, but there's something in the book. It says, if you stack $1,000 bills, you can reach the moon or something, or you can reach space. And I was like, no way. That's ridiculous. But so if you have 1 trillion $1 bills,
yes,
and you stack them, theoretically it reaches about halfway there. So you can get from the Earth to the moon, halfway from the Earth to the moon with 1 trillion $1 bills if you stack them. However, if you line the bills end to end, you can absolutely get there.
Ooh, brilliant.
Unless you factor in what would happen to the bills as they are affected by changes in atmosphere.
I never factored in lengthwise. I just assumed all the bills had to be stacked.
Right. So, so actually, if you could like break atmospheric and laws of gravity and shit, so like, in a fantastical vacuum, you could line up dollar bills end to end, like so lengthwise, and get from the Earth to the moon pretty easily. You wouldn't even need a whole trillion. You'd probably need quite a lot less, because stacking them, they're only 0.1 millimeter thick. And I mean, if you imagine, like the length of a bill is many, 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 many times that. So you actually wouldn't even need that many. I probably should have calculated exactly how many, but honestly, math is not my strong suit, and I was already getting confused. So
well, you know what, Paris? Clearly,
stop.
We found America's next big project for us to all get together, put all of our collective effort together, and together we can waste money better than we've ever wasted money before as a country. If you thought America wasted money before, we're going to fucking stack, or not stack, actually, as you put it, we're going to line dollar bills end to end until we touch the moon with our greatest resource.
Well, Chris, you see, we were promised a wall. No one said it had to be horizontal.
True. You know what? Good point, Paris. It's a wall of the moon. We're keeping the aliens out. They can't get past it.
Wall to the moon.
And it's made out of the most American thing in the world. Money.
Yep. So, yeah, obviously, this would be probably impossible, because as you stack or even line the bills end to end in a vertical fashion, as you go up higher in the atmosphere, there's like, pressure changes and the air temperature gets a lot less. Like the bills would probably shatter at a certain point.
Not with that attitude.
So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of other things to consider, but like theoretically, the length is there to make this true. So yeah, that was interesting to learn. The next thing that I got mad about in the Overton window was the use of the phrase atonal music to describe something that someone didn't like because it was not Western. And like, I got mad because technically that's not true. Because there's plenty of non-Western music that is based around a tonal structure, a tonal center. But I did learn, I guess, that apparently some people do use it this way. and it's like a very it's technically acceptable, but not like not commonly used to say that. And I mean, it is incorrect, but it's one of those things that's like incorrect, but it slipped into common parlance. So now, you know, it's how
language works.
Right. It's how think about the transformation of the word literally. The word literally has come to mean figuratively the opposite of what the word actually means. And that's kind of what has happened with atonal. Well, it's not quite the same. It hasn't become the opposite, but it's definitely taken on a different meaning. So yeah. Lastly, Chris and I were really confused by a limousine having hot towels in it. Because I was just like, what? Like, that seems so over the top. It seems, you know, like a comical supervillain or something would have hot towels in a limousine. But you know what? There are hot towels in some limousines because, you know, we just weren't rich enough to know this.
That's true. I've never been in a limousine my entire life.
I have once. But thanks to Limousine and Chauffeur magazine, we've been enlightened. That is a thing.
That's definitely a supervillains magazine subscription right there.
I can't believe there's a Limousine and Chauffeur magazine. There are old copies scanned and on the internet. And yeah, they were discussing having hot towels in limousines. And I was like, wow, that's great. I'm just too poor to know any better. So yeah, that's everything for the Overton window. Chris, take it away from Marked.
Okay, so for Marked, this episode, the only question that I wasn't sure about, or the thing that we didn't really get a definitive answer on, was who exactly does what on the writing team between PC Cast and Kristen Cast, the mom-daughter writing team that wrote this vampire Harry Potter book.
I talked about that at the beginning of that episode.
Oh.
The mom writes it and the daughter edits it to make sure it is quote unquote of like effectively teenage.
Well, I was going to ask you, where did you find that fucking information? Because I was researching for such a long time. I found a bunch of interviews with PC Cast and I couldn't find any sort of one way or the other asking about it. So I was going to disappoint you immediately with my first one where I said I couldn't find the answer on this one.
The answer was right in the episode you were listening to. I think I read it in an interview or maybe on the old website. Oh, that's right. But they changed the website around.
So that's probably... Maybe. I did find a very shakily filmed interview with PC Cast that was just... It looked like a low angle and like she was being interviewed in a parking lot for like some book blog that was running some weird contest to win her book or something.
Oh boy, that sounds uncomfortable in every respect.
And the one thing, the super interesting thing that I got from it is that she completely based Zoe, the main character of the book series, off of Kristen, which makes a lot of the scenes a whole lot weirder.
Chris, that's also something that I said in that episode and provided evidence for.
I skipped over the whole intro, I guess, of that episode.
No, I don't even know when I said it, but I know I said it in that episode.
I guess we found the same thing, but that was like really the only thing that I was desperate for something at this point because we were still early on in the goings with this and listening. So I tried to find anything, but later on, some episodes didn't have anything to talk about.
I mean, yeah, I had
so I've severely disappointed you already. Or maybe I'm just looking for reasons to think I'm right.
No, you just didn't do a good job listening, which was your only job.
I got more thorough later.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't re-listen to Marked, but I remember it a little bit, but I didn't re-listen to it. So I guess that's it for that one. So yeah, to clarify, PC Cast, the mother, she does the bulk of the writing, and then the daughter, Kirsten, I forget. Whatever, the daughter, Kristen, thank you. The daughter edits it to make it more youthful, I guess. And yeah,
I do have something for the other Marked book that is somewhat related to that.
Oh my god,
we'll get to that.
Oh, that's right. You ended up with both of them because of the
yes,
ordering.
I did.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I promise you, I found good research on the other thing, but that's all the way at the other end of this. So let's keep going.
Yeah. So the next one is Wizard's First Rule, episode 3, which was mine. I just wanted to talk about Thunder versus Lightning because we briefly mentioned that we had gotten into several arguments about it.
I think we still might have an argument about this.
No, well, I wanted to settle it because this has been an ongoing thing. So
Our entire friendship.
Chris, do you want to describe our disagreement about thunder and lightning?
So the disagreement was, if I'm remembering it correctly, is whether they're technically separate things. We both know they come from the same event, but would you consider the sound of the thing versus the visual of the thing to be completely separate from the thing that happened?
All right, so science says that thunder and lightning...
Come on with that science, Paris. This is my gut. You asked your gut early on. I know what thunder versus lightning is.
Well, they are two aspects of the same phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So lightning is the visual element. And because light travels faster than sound, you see the lightning first. The lightning itself is what you're seeing, the visual you're seeing, it's the sudden thermal expansion of plasma in the air. And this causes a sonic shockwave, the thunder, that you hear a few seconds later because audio travels slower than sound. So the physical thing, lightning happening, produces the sound, and they are two distinct things. They appeal to two different senses, and you experience them at two separate times.
Okay, well, I will concede that point then, if that's a perfectly logical way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was confused about it too. I know maybe this sounds really dumb.
It was mostly a semantic argument about, is the experiences of a thing separate from the thing itself that happened? I suppose was our major quibble there about that. But I'm glad we've finally put this behind us.
Yeah, we can finally
both move on with our lives.
We're gonna stop the feud between thunder and lightning. But I didn't.
That's why we went on hiatus for a year, actually.
Yeah. So I didn't really find anything else in that episode that I felt, and that wasn't even really something that needed correcting. We just mentioned it, but I didn't hear anything else. So I don't know.
That's, again, we're kind of just looking at interesting things we never really got the answer for. It doesn't necessarily mean we were wrong, but just, things that deserve clarification.
So I also ended up with episode 11, Maradonia and the Seven Bridges. I guess all the episodes between 3 and 11 are the lost episodes. So
yep.
So the next one is also me. So I picked out two things. They're actually from the same section. So there's a section in Maradonia and the Seven Bridges where she talks about Queen Aqua Marisha and the mermaid city that somehow also that fucking gets shoehorned into this book because that book had to have every fantasy thing in it.
Paris, can we reveal what's happening next month? I think we've already said it, right? It's
no, we haven't. Shh.
Okay. Never mind then. Continue.
Yeah, maybe we'll talk about it later. Yeah. So anyway, there's a pretty small part of the book that involves this mermaid queen. I honestly don't even know if the mermaids had anything to do with the story. I don't even remember if they were plot relevant. I don't think they were.
No, nothing in that book was plot relevant.
And there's a part where they go and visit Aqua Marisha in the underwater mermaid city. And of course, as surface dwelling humans who are mortal and don't have gills, some questions came up. The first one, I guess I'll do these backwards. So the first question was do we have the technology for a person to breathe underwater? And my reference point for this is that episode of Futurama where Fry goes down to the lost city of Atlanta and
a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's a good episode. And there's a little shell on a string that he can shove into his mouth and nose, and he can just exist underwater for as long as he wants and operate normally. And of course that's an extreme version, but I was wondering, it's 2019. We might have the technology for this. So we don't quite have the technology, but
hold on. So we're ruling out just scuba suits here, right? Just nothing with air tanks is what you mean.
Yeah. I'm talking about something that's a little more just goes on your face. You don't have to do a whole thing about it.
It's using the oxygen in the water more than oxygen in a spare tank that you brought with.
Yes. So sort of. A couple of years ago, there was a company that came out with this product called the Triton. Unfortunately, that turned out to be too good to be true. It was this little like mouth insert with like some filters hanging off of it, and it was very like sleek. And they had a lot of people believing in it. People gave to the Kickstarter. It probably was never really operational. I think that they put out some videos purporting to show it working, but like it wasn't really enough to convince people. And they refunded everyone after all the hullabaloo, you know. And
someone jumped in a pool with it and found out very quickly.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing is like they didn't even have any to give to people. Although now they're claiming that they're still working on it, and like I think So anyway, the Triton was kind of a, you know, not real. But there's this like shittier thing that does actually exist in work though called the Skorkel.
Okay.
Which is as dumb as its name suggests.
It sounds like a weapon somehow. So watch out, he'll give you the Skorkel. All
right, so if any of you have ever seen the CO2 canisters that come with like a soda stream or some other type of carbonation device, imagine like a half-sized one, and you're holding it in your mouth with a mouthpiece. Like you're holding it like it's hanging off your face.
Sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah, it looks really dumb, but the air canister itself is refillable and allows you to be underwater for 10 minutes without the use of a snorkel or an oxygen tank or like a heavy oxygen tank. So like it's a short period of time, but you know, we're getting there. You know,
still
I think
technically a reserve tank of air.
Right, but at least it's really dumb. Look it up, the Skorkel.
All right, what else you got, Paris?
That being said, I think in the next 100 years or so, maybe. So the second thing in that like mermaid part of the book, when they're in the underwater city, they're talking about underwater fruit gardens. And we both laughed and we're like, that's fucking bullshit. And like, it is bullshit I think that the way it was represented in the book, I think we were right, and that it wasn't a thing that was possible because like, you can't have strawberries and cherries and bananas in the ocean, right? Like, that's not a thing.
They won't grow right. They'll be salty as fuck, actually.
well, like, plants in the ocean don't produce fruit. Well, there are some underwater plants that technically produce fruit, but certainly not, like, sweet or tart or edible for people or animals. But, like, in aquatic environments, there's no need to produce fruit to encourage other creatures to eat your seeds and then poop them out and spread them, which is the deal with fruit. If you didn't know, that is the deal with it. Because you exist in water, which will just spread it for you, spread all your shit for you. So, like,
I don't even need to grow any fucking strawberries.
No, exactly.
I figured all these land plants out here just doing extra work when they don't need to. Let the currents take it, man.
Yep. That is you, Chris. You'd be an excellent plant.
Chill sea plants
underwater
are my brethren.
Yes. But okay, so in the traditional sense, like you can't plant a fucking strawberry bush under the sea, right? But there is this thing that has been developed over the last few years called Nemo's Garden, where these people have created an underwater garden. But the way what they've done is they've taken fruit and plants and stuff, and they're growing them inside structures in the ocean, like an underwater greenhouse. So not directly in the water itself. So there's not,
there's no salty strawberries.
Right. You're not getting your spearmint eaten by fish or anything. so they've created basically an underwater greenhouse. Yeah, and it's so fucking cool. You should look it up and look at it. It's called Nemo's Garden. I don't know. It's a really cool idea. So like, yeah, I guess you can have underwater fruit gardens in like an unorthodox way. They've been doing it for a couple of years. I mean, they're still, it's still like an experimental thing, so who knows? But if they can make that work, it's a really interesting concept and plan to provide more fresh food for people, in a world that is dying and slowly becoming more and more covered with water. So it's a really, really, really cool idea.
Neat.
So I'm going to turn it over to Chris for Moon People.
All right, this time I definitely caught some stuff, okay? Look, I haven't failed you this time. So, early on in Moon People, you and I kind of got into a discussion about what's the difference exactly between a novella and a novel, or a novella and...
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that.
So, I went and did a little digging around, and turns out it's basically one of those things where there's not really a strict definition, but everyone will have a slightly different line of suggestion. It's generally just like, hey, if it's around under 100 pages, it's probably some kind of a novella. Some people put it at word count. Like the first link on Google that hit me when I researched this said, it's a novella is between 17K and 40K words, and anything beyond that is a novel. And then you have stuff like flash fiction or something, which is like 50 words or something like that. There's all these weird categories for word counts that this thing had. So in general, it's like the difference between a hill and a mountain, which is another argument I've had with people about where does one begin and where does another.
No. Hills and mountains are very different. If Noah was not...
there's no set difference, though.
If Noah was not currently climbing Mount Rainier, he would... I'm sure he could tell you what the difference is.
There's no, like, look, there's commonly accepted differences, but there's no hard line, is what I'm saying.
Man, no. All right. I guess we're going to have an argument about this.
I've been in this argument. This is going to be our new thunder and lightning, Paris. It's hills and mountains.
Yeah, I will ask Noah if he doesn't slide off of Mount Rainier and die. I will ask him when he returns.
Maybe hill rain. No. Anyway, so that was the first thing. Pretty simple thing. It's just, again, one of those things that there's not really any hard lines, but generally you know it when you see it.
I always thought it was like 100 pages or less, but wow, interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no set definition on that. Apparently.
Fucking Wild West out there in the publishing world.
You can call it whatever you want. The other thing that we kind of questioned was apparently at some point in the book, a meteor was bound to hit the sun, and that would like cause a big deal or something.
Yeah, I remember.
And we were both like, I don't know about that one. There was a whole argument too about like NASA would probably be able to detect it and stuff like that. I didn't even bother with that. I was more interested in what would happen if a meteor hit the sun. According to a New Scientist article that I read, anything under 10 square kilometers is just like immediately as soon as it gets anywhere near it will just get taken out just by pure heat around it.
Right.
Like just 10 square kilometers is just not even it doesn't blink at that. Beyond that, it might start getting caught up in the gravitational well of the sun proper.
Oh my god, a gravitational well is like a really sick phrase that I need to steal for a song.
I've read a lot. This happens a lot in the Expanse series, so that's where I picked up that vocab from. There's a lot of slang in that series about being down the well when you're on a planet.
Oh, damn. I like that. All right. Sorry, continue. Tell me about this well.
So anyway, in the sun's gravity well, basically it's like pretty so big and so hot that most things would get accelerated to a speed of about 600 kilometers a second.
I can't even conceive of that speed.
Technically, that's how fast like a lot of satellites are orbiting around the Earth and everything. It's all relative, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, maybe not, because actually, at that speed, anything that's orbiting at that speed would get flattened like a pancake, and that material would then just get dispersed throughout pretty much this. So honestly, like if a meteor to hit the sun to be a big deal, it would have to be like a third the size of the sun or something like that. And even then, maybe not.
Which is really large. Like,
that's a guesstimate there. That wasn't in the New Scientist article, but like most huge objects will just get burnt to shit or smashed to a pancake and then burnt to shit.
You know what I should do is I should submit this. Actually, I should check the podcast Paperboys. I really like their show. They kind of do what we do, but for scientific papers, where they choose a scientific paper and they talk about like whether the study was done correctly and whether the results were meaningful and all this stuff. And it's really interesting. I should check and see if they've done anything on a meteor hitting the sun. And if they haven't, I will suggest this to them. And they can give us probably more, because they're both like scientists, like graduate students, so they understand the shit more.
There was a New Scientist article about this. Would be a fantastic starting point.
Yeah, great. All right, cool. So the next one is episode 15, The Art of the Deal. I only have one thing from that.
Really?
Yeah, well, because I did a shit ton of research. No, I'm sorry, I have two things for that, because I did a bunch of research for that one, so it was pretty solid. We discussed, so The Art of the Deal was written by Tony Schwartz, although it's a book by Donald Trump, but Tony Schwartz wrote it after he spent time with Trump and interviewed him and things like that. So Tony Schwartz has been donating his royalties from The Art of the Deal to charity. And I mentioned that on the show, and I was like, oh, I think he just donated what he made initially to like some charity that affected his family. Actually, he continues to donate all of his royalties from The Art of the Deal to various charities that are specifically opposed to things that Trump likes. So the level of pettiness is like ratcheted up to 100, and it's fucking great.
I see him getting quoted in like news articles a lot about his opinion on Trump, and like I kind of don't care that much, but it's nice to know that he's putting his money where his mouth is.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like you can actually check his Twitter feed for updates from him on how much and where he's donated to. So like the Terrible Book Club Twitter account follows him on Twitter. Recently, he's been donating to immigration, women's rights, and environmental causes. So yeah, basically what he does is he tries to publicize these donations and his opinion as somebody who spent a lot of time with Trump, to try to make people see his view about the situation, which we don't need to get into right now, but interesting.
Good on Mr. Schwartz.
Yeah. The next one was, I don't know if you remember this, but there were some reviews printed, like when a book comes out, it's like, oh, the New York Times says this is the best thing since, I don't know.
Sliced breads.
Flip-flops.
Unsliced breads, even.
Bread flops. Sliced flip-flops. But yeah, they're like, oh, this is a revolution in women's literature. What, they have these little like review snippets.
Yeah.
Well, there was one on The Art of the Deal that said, like Donald Trump is a deal maker. Like lions are cats, or like lions roar and like water is wet.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out water isn't wet.
But Paris,
water isn't wet.
No, I don't believe you. No,
Chris,
it's wet.
Chris?
When I get in the shower, I get wet, Paris.
Okay, but water is the thing that makes other things wet.
Okay, but by virtue of it being wet itself.
Let me finish my fucking sentence. The definition of wet is defined as the condition of a liquid adhering to a solid. So,
okay, all right. Paris,
water cannot be wet on its own because it is a liquid. It is not adhering to a solid.
What about if I have an ice cube that's sweating a little bit, though? What's the ice cube made out of, Paris?
Chris, it's solidified.
It's water, though, right? But it's water, though, right?
Right, but it's a liquid adhering to a solid.
What is an ice cube?
Okay. For a sweating ice cube,
Paris. Yes.
Chris, you don't win this. A sweating ice cube is wet because the liquid water is adhering to the solid water.
So the water is wet, isn't it, Paris?
No, the ice cube is wet.
Which is water.
Nope, it's a different state of matter.
Have you seen the YouTube video about the other people arguing about this very same topic?
No.
It's like a group of men in heated debate about is water wet.
It seems such a clear thing. Once I read the definition, I was like, oh yeah, I get it.
I have to disagree. I'm on the other side of this.
No,
water is wet.
Chris, a sweating ice cube is water adhering to the ice cube, and I'm going to tell you right now that is correct, because you would never say, you would never use water and ice interchangeably, right? So they are two distinct things, two different things they are different states of matter.
Yeah, if I asked someone for the ice and they just brought me a cup of cold water, I'd be mad.
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, so there's the difference.
I still, this is my gut telling me right here. I've confounded my friend, and I feel in my being that water is wet because I get in the shower and I become...
Chris, You're being controlled.
This is my anti-vax stance right here. That water is wet.
No, Chris. It's because you're being controlled by the 80% water that your body is. All the little fucking water assholes in you are like, we're wet.
You're a water asshole.
Sorry, that was a bad way to put it, but.
Well, water is kind of a good segue into my next thing that's coming up here. Because episode 16 was Sleeping with the Fishes, which was the mermaid romance novel about mermaids that do mermaid stuff in Boston Harbor. And there was a point in the book where it was revealed that the evil villains were dumping sewage straight into Boston Harbor from the hotel that they built. And it took all the mermaids to realize that this was happening, and they're very upset about it. So I did a little bit of research to find out, like, could this possibly happen? And honestly, a hotel would never even have the opportunity to dump sewage or poop directly into Boston Harbor. Because to, like, get the building permit in the first place, you have to have a plan to connect up to the sewer lines. And there's no way anything gets erected before all these inspections take place. There's no way business opens to where you can be shitting in toilets before this inspection takes place. I did a little bit more research on, like, you know, other ways that this might happen. Like, oh, maybe they got into, like, the wastewater thing, or, like, there's something like that. But I found out that Deer Island treats wastewater from 43 different communities in Boston, where water is basically treated and filtered until it's safe to just be thrown back out into the bay after being... There's, like many different chambers and processes.
Yep.
The first level of the process is just basically just, hey, let the stuff sit there and the solids will float to the bottom, which is a fun thought to think about.
Yeah.
They even go so far as to make sure that the water has the right amount of oxygen in it for fish to breathe.
Yep. Yeah, Deer Island is actually really, really cool. I learned a lot about it when I was in college. And yeah, I know people are like, oh, it's, you know, the poop island, it's where the poop goes. It's like, yeah, but it's actually, like Chris was saying, it's really fucking cool how they handle it.
43 communities. That's a lot of poop to process.
Yeah, they do a great job of it too. Yeah, and I think like the book kind of made it seem like, oh, the hotel was owned by mob people, and maybe they had like paid some. I could think the under oh my god, what am I trying to say? Fuck. The subtext. Thank you. Mm-hmm. You know what I almost said? I almost said the underwords. The subtext. Jesus.
That's a good word for it. That's what I'm going to call it now. The words under the words.
That's what happens when you're learning a foreign language and your brain starts getting really confused.
Basement sounds.
Yeah. Below noises. The subtext, I believe, is that you know the hotel is owned by mobsters, so they must have paid someone to like just avoid all the sewage. But like, there's no.
It would cost more money. It would be more effort.
Yeah, it's like there's no benefit to.
There's no profit in it. There's no profit in it. There's no reason.
And I mean, obviously, like Boston Harbor, and you know, a lot of places around the world had issues with their waterways being severely polluted by industry because people were dumping directly into them. But like, I mean, that shit kind of. I feel like most of that
straight up
in, like,
sewage isn't part of that. That's like waste from industrial processes and shit.
Right. But even that stuff is like, you know, mostly over. I mean, there's a huge asterisk there when I say that is mostly over with. We still have problems with this. The current EPA is really fucking shit up because they no longer are actually operating kind of with the environment in mind. The E in that... The E and the P in the EPA no longer mean anything. So, yeah, big asterisk there. But like in general, yeah, Chris is right. Like this,
the Environmental Protection Agency to protect our money from the environment.
Yeah, yes. I think Chris has the sense correct there. But yeah, so that was something we weren't wrong about. We were just like confused, and so we were right in that we thought it kind of didn't make any sense. So. And that was like the basis of the plot of that whole book. So
pretty much.
Whoops.
So, all right, what do you got for me next, Paris?
For Holy Cow, I didn't really have anything. I double checked some stuff that we said, and it was right. So
All right.
So in my travels, though, I came upon a recent interview with David Duchovny, and he just came out with a book last year, and it actually looks not bad.
Can you give me like the bullet point cell?
Yeah. He adapted an old Irish myth to the modern day. And it's the myth of Emer and Cuchulainn, I think, or something.
Okay. All right.
I forget how to say it. And he adapted it to like New York City, So, I mean, he's working with material that already exists. So,
some American Gods shit, basically, by David Duchovny. So maybe there's a little bit more fucking in it.
I was gonna say, let's not get that. Get that crazy. American Gods is really good.
Yeah, true.
I would say I actually like the TV show better, but I'm sure some listeners will find me and slit my throat in the night for saying this, but I do. But actually, like, it seems not terrible, so I'm like, maybe I should read that. But yeah, I basically just wanted to say, like, we don't hate David Duchovny. Like, I grew up idolizing David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson because I was so into the X-Files as a kid, and I still definitely don't hate him. I just feel like in that episode it kind of sounded like we were maybe ragging on him a little bit, but it
was kind of a silly book, so.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird book, and we had a lot of problems with it, but anyway, that was it for me.
Speaking of throats being slit in the night and swordplay and stuff like that, I had Aeon Legion next, but I also didn't really find much of it. Like, we were just talking about sword fighting and anime stuff. I was just, like, clarifying anime references to you for most of that episode.
Yeah.
So, like, there wasn't really much, like, unless I was trying to clarify the lore of Aeon Legion, there wasn't really much to get wrong in that one. So, not much there. We good. So,
all right, cool.
Episode 17 and 18, we're batting high average here. We're getting it all right.
Well, this is also, like, from our perspective, so who knows what the fuck we missed. I'm sure we'll get many angry emails. Episode 19, Dark Star, Confessions of a Rock Idol. I feel like I must have missed things because I only had one thing that we wanted to talk about. Well, there was another thing that we discussed, but I feel like we came to the right conclusion, so I didn't bother. But my one point from Dark Star is, are alligators solitary, or do they live in social groups?
What was the context to that? Do you remember?
Yeah, I was literally about to explain that. This question arose because there's a point. Actually, that episode was really fucking funny. So listening to all these old episodes of yourself is hard, but it definitely made me appreciate how funny some of them were, because I never feel like the episodes are funny or good at all because I think I'm just too close to it. But then stepping away from it for months or years, coming back to it, you forget all your jokes and it's really funny. But anyway, there was a part in this book where the villain of the book, sorry, I'm trying to remember his name.
Was it the clown guy, right?
I'm gonna get ya!
Yeah, the clown guy in the prison.
He's got a high squeaky voice.
Prison juggalo guy or whatever.
Yeah, what the fuck was it? Who was possessed by Satan?
Yeah,
really stupid name. Oh shit. Anyway,
it was like Boinky or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really stupid. So the really silly villain, who's supposed to be really scary somehow, kidnaps the female lead in the story, and instead of actually killing her or hurting her in any way, he just ties her to a post in the swamp and is so sure that alligators are going to eat her that he just drives away and leaves her there. And the alligators are painted as like definitely death machines. They're definitely going to eat a human person tied to a post in a swamp. And when the main character comes to save her, they pull up on the scene and there's like dozens of alligators, a huge like group of them like closing in on her tied to this post in the swamp. And Chris and I were like, that seems a little weird. I don't think that's how they operate. And we were right. Alligators are solitary creatures. So like it says that sometimes if they're smaller, like if they're generally of a smaller size, they might exist kind of close to one another. And they do fight over territory, though, and are usually solitary. The only time they ever really gather in groups is in the spring when they do alligator courtship rituals.
Ooh.
So it's not like impossible that there could have been a few of them together. You know, like I'm sure we've seen many nature documentaries where there are alligators or crocodiles near one another, but like the book just made it seem like there were a lot of them all closing in on this woman. like alligators. So that was a little fucky. But that was all I had for that episode. What's
an alligator courtship ritual? Is it like massaging each other's scales?
Let's find out. I actually didn't make a note.
While you're looking for that, I can talk about my little bit of research that I did for Murder Gone Awry. At the end of that book, someone is fed like poisoned cakes by way, or it was like muffins or something. That they have enough cyanide in them, and we got into
they were cookies with
cookies
yep.
with that. It was like there was enough like cyanide baked into them for them to kill people, and I guess we assumed that there was just enough almond content in there to kill someone.
Yeah.
So we got into a discussion about wait a minute, you would have to probably eat a lot of fucking almonds because I could just eat a whole thing of almonds and be fine. Turns out that's true because the store-bought, the almonds you get in stores are a variety of almond called a sweet almond because they are not bitter like bitter almonds, which are wild.
Yep.
So the sweet almonds you get in the store, while not exactly sweet like fruit or something like that, are much more tasty and delicious and have a very, very trace amount of cyanide in them. You would have to eat about 1,150 sweet almonds in one sitting to like actually maybe even then die from it. You'd probably have a bad stomachache by then no matter what you were eating. If you ate 1,150 or something except maybe rice kernels, I think you'd probably have a bad time.
Yeah.
But for bitter almonds, if you have about 50, you'll die, which is still a lot of fucking almonds. So I don't know how many.
And also like bitter almonds taste like fucking shit. Like
So how many do you have to bake into the cookie? Like you would have to be cramming like 50 almonds per cookie, or maybe 25 if you think they're going to go for seconds.
Well,
which actually, is most of the cookie, right?
It would be pretty easy because what you can do is you can just throw the almonds in a food processor and turn them into
like your
flour.
Vitamix now sponsored
like my
by
Vitamix. Vitamix. It's here for your smoothies and your kitchen murder plots. Please don't. That was a joke. Please don't murder people with bitter almond meal made in your Vitamix. Yeah. But yeah, you could just whip it into almond meal and mix it into the flour and no one would be any of the I mean, you probably have to put a fuck ton of sugar and vanilla extract in it to mask it, but like...
How big would a 50 almond cookie be?
Dude, that's not... When you mill that shit into flour, it's like not that much.
All right. Fine. Then
well, I think you'd have to eat... I still think you're right about having to eat more than one cookie, though.
That's how I feel about that.
Because 50 almonds is about... I want to say maybe a cup. I guess that would probably make like half a cup of flour.
Anyway, it would taste like shit because they're bitter almonds, so you would have the first bite and be like, this tastes like shit.
No, you would just put it, like I said, you would just put a bunch of like vanilla extract and sweet almond extract and sugar to mask it. It's probably actually pretty possible, but like, I don't know. Like, if you order bitter almonds, I'm pretty sure you're fucking on a watch list, right? Like, where are you getting that?
You can't order them. You have to go get them in the wild in, like, fucking California or something. That's where most of the sweet almonds are grown. Maybe there's bitter ones over there, too. And they lived in, like, Tulsa, Oklahoma or some shit, right? Like
Oil Top, Kansas.
That's right. I'm sorry.
Tulsa, Oklahoma was where March took place, and we determined that was the epicenter of hell, remember?
Yes, true. Excuse. I'm sorry. So what about them alligator courtship rituals there, Paris?
Apparently alligator courtship is quite complex. It involves a lot of sonic elements. So there's bellowing. There's a
lot of sliding into the alligator DMs.
By yelling directly at, the old DM, which was just talking to someone.
So you're telling me that alligator's cat call is what you're saying?
I guess. No, because it says that they bellow to males and females. So I don't know if alligators just like get down and are just bisexual, or if like I don't know. Anyway, they do some head slapping. They rub snouts and backs.
Okay.
They blow bubbles, which is adorable. And they send, pheromone, like, scent signals, which, pretty much everyone does without even thinking about it. Yeah. So it's, I guess, pretty complicated. They do little dances.
Wow.
Yeah. They do dances.
They have a whole thing set up there. We need alligator tactics instead of hoe tactics now. How to lock up your zookeeper and get free food forever because he's your mark.
Oh, alligator tactics.
All right, Paris.
Anyway. Oh, God, it's me again.
Yes, it is.
Episode 21, Monster Hunter International. Yeah, once again, didn't really have any corrections. The only thing that we kind of briefly were like, I don't know, is that a thing or not? And I was like, I don't know, I don't think the years match up at all. And I was right. So the question was, did any Scandinavian explorers ever work alongside conquistadors in Central or South America? Was there any like cross-pollination between any conquistadors and Scandinavians? Because there was this guy in the book that we were almost positive was Scandinavian, was like a Viking, was supposed to be like a Viking dude. Who existed at the same time period as a conquistador, and I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. But I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'm not a historian, like I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, conquistadors happened like 500 years after the Viking era was over, so like definitely no.
All right. Well, I'm not surprised that book was historically inaccurate.
Well, but then again, I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know that we ever had a passage in the book that directly said the dude was supposed to be a Viking or Scandinavian. We just got that sense from the way that he was described and the way that he spoke and the things that he said about where he had come from. So we could have been wrong. Maybe he was supposed to be like a Saxon or something, something that was a little more temporally possible.
All right.
But I guess, I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyway, however, so the mainstream majority opinion is that like, the Viking era ended in like 1000 or like 11, maybe 1000 something or 1100, and the conquistador shit kicked off in like 1400. So like, you got 400 or 500 years there. But there is a minority of folks who are really pushing for this possibility that Scandinavian explorers got much further south than Vinland, which is like, whatever settlements they had in Canada. What is it? Like La something Meadow. I
would know.
I forget. But anyway, and in my exploring, most of the websites I ended up on were white supremacist sites. So
okay.
Yeah, so take that.
You're gonna have some fun Google ads for a while.
Yeah,
Paris.
so take that to mean what you want.
Nonstop Trump campaign 2020.
Oh, yeah, Jesus. Well, no, so I was, I was like, okay. I was like, I don't even feel like I need to Google this because I know that the time periods don't match up. But I was like, I'm, again, not a historian. I'm gonna check. And it was like, I kept getting these sites that were like, oh, but these dogs existed here, and those dogs are a match for, like, dogs from Scandinavia, and the only way they could have gotten there is if they brought them there. And, like, I was clicking on sites, and it took me a minute to realize that they were probably white supremacist sites. I didn't really notice at first because I was so focused on the, the detail of what I was looking up. And then I noticed some symbols and was like, oh no, close the window, close the window.
Oh, no.
Fuck.
Hope you weren't doing that research at work.
So I guess I was doing it at home, but so like, there's a minority opinion there, but I don't really want to like give too much stock in that, but I will say that history is ever changing, right? Like we find out new crazy shit about the past every day. So who knows? As of right now, it doesn't really seem like there's evidence to support that, but who knows?
All right. Well, moving on to Stone of Tears, the second book in the Sword of Truth series. I mean, there wasn't much here because with fantasy novels, it's not like we talk about much like factual stuff. So I tend to focus on lore elements here. And the kind of one thing we didn't really get clarified, even by TJ, was does it matter if a regular person cries on the Stone of Tears? Because when a wizard cries on the Stone of Tears, that's what seals the keeper away, the big evil Satan figure in the Sword of Truth series, down in the underworld. So at one point I was questioning, wait a minute, what happens if a regular person, why does the wizard have to cry on the thing? So I went looking on Sword of Truth, like Wikia, lore, fan sites and everything, I tried to avoid spoilers. I did not just click willy-nilly. I tried to be very particular about what I was looking at over here. And no one really had I didn't think Terry Goodkind would have thought this out a whole lot, and turns out he really didn't, because there's not really much explanation as to why it has to be a wizard, but it has to be a wizard to cry on the thing, and regular people could cry on it all they want, and I guess it doesn't matter.
Huh. I wonder why.
Terry, it doesn't sound like he thinks through his lore all the way, because
no. Sorry, go ahead.
There's some stuff that happens, some things that I did glance over that really just made it look like Terry's doing whatever in that series, whatever fits the bill.
Well, that was my problem with the fact that he didn't really have a well-defined magic system. That was one of my
speaking of a magic system, I did peek at a list of spells, all the spells that take place in the Sword of Truth series. So now I have the full compendium here. I'm a level 99 Sword of Truth wizard, I guess.
Oh boy.
And there, most of them were like, Diamond of Protection or Wizard Flame or something like that. But there was one that I didn't click into because I didn't want any spoilers, but it gave me cause for concern because one of the spells was named Maternity Spell. And I don't like that in the context of what Terry writes, so I'm very scared to read the rest of the series now.
I'm just gonna take the positive view, and my positive view is that the maternity spell means that it just speeds up your maternity leave, so that you're right back to work. Boom, done, baby's gone. That's what that spell is for, and it is definitely not to force pregnancy on anyone. Moving on.
Well, I guess we might find out eventually. I kind of don't want to. Moving on to your next book.
Yeah. So episode 23 was Hoe Tactics. Lucky me.
Nice.
So in this episode, this is a bit shameful, but we got into an. This is the point. This is a content warning part. If you don't want to hear about genitals, please move on.
Skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah, we had an argument about labial prominence, to put it plainly.
Yep.
So it came. I actually don't remember how this came. God, I just listened to the episode. Oh, right, because we got into this, we went down this weird road where Chris was like, people on the internet get hyper focused on weird parts of women's bodies and give them names and dedicate subreddits to them and things. And Chris tasked me with figuring out what a simp was. It's a part of he was like, it's part of a woman's body. And I couldn't figure it out. And God, it pains me to have these words come out of my mouth. Chris explained to me.
We're in this together, Parrot. We're in this together.
Chris explained to me. God, this is one of those audio clips that's gonna come back to bite me in the ass at somewhere down the road. But Chris explained to me that a simp is a style of vagina where I think it's perhaps the more common style, where the labia majora, so the outer labia, are closed and they enclose the labia minora, the inner labia, so that the woman's vagina looks like Homer Simpson's mouth.
Yes. I mean, obviously she has to be unshaved for the full effects to happen there.
Or you mean shaved?
Yes.
You said, okay. So yeah, pubic hair shaved, large outer labia. Yeah, this is awkward. Basically, I was like, wait, vaginas are classed as innies or outies? What? I've never heard of this, and I thought this was weird, but I just didn't know.
Did you do any research to support this?
I did. And I guess there's
I'm sure
actually...
you found many horrible websites.
Well, no, actually, I started to feel pretty bad about the way that I reacted in the first episode, because I was like, oh my God, it sounds fucking gross. And I didn't think that it was real. I thought you were just confused or exaggerating or fucking with me or whatever. So I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to make fun of anybody's anatomy. I guess that I feel worse about it because after doing some reading, I guess people who have inner labia that are more prominent, that actually like extend beyond their outer labia. Apparently a lot of people are like self-conscious about that, and people get like labiaplasties to like trim it and make it look like, you know, I guess the preferred version, which is where your outer labia cover the inner labia. And I was like, fuck, I wouldn't make anyone feel God, I felt so terrible about it. I was like, Jesus Christ. It's like, I guess there's like a real problem with that, and there's no medical reason to want one or the other.
No,
I mean, apparently
it's just the way it looks, and they all look fine.
Yeah, and apparently some people do get labiaplasties not because they're like trying to conform to a beauty standard, but because some people's like extended labia actually cause them discomfort, like if they dance or play sports or like whatever. So some people get them trimmed just to stop it from being uncomfortable, but like yeah, so sorry I was an asshole about anatomy that is my own. I just like, I'm a straight woman, I didn't know. I don't regularly look at vaginas. Many.
I've probably seen, you know, just through the virtue of being on the internet and stuff like that, magnitude more than you. And listen, generally they're all great. That's all I have to say about it. So,
right. Like, it's totally fine. I'm sorry that I fucking shamed some people. I did not mean to. I was an idiot. I have been corrected.
And you've learned from your experience.
I have. And then the other thing, I just wanted to make a quick clarification on the use of ebonics. I don't even know if that's probably not even, but the use of African American English.
Yeah, AAVE is technically the more.
What?
AAVE, African American Vernacular.
Yeah,
English,
or ebonics, or however you want to put it. Like, I have no issue with that at all. Like, I'm not like a weird
language
person.
Fascist.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I just felt like the use of it in the book by that author was like sort of disingenuous and predatory. I felt like he was writing that way so that he could convince people that his view was real and therefore correct. Like he was like, oh, you know, if I use the vernacular of, you know, the common folk on the street, like they'll believe me more or something. I don't know. I got the sense that the way that he wrote wasn't genuine.
I fully agree.
And it bothered me. And that was what bothered me. Like, I just, when I was re-listening to it, I was like, oh, it kind of sounds like I'm talking shit about, you know, non-standard English, but that was not it. I just felt like the author was not being genuine and was doing it just so he could try to like trick people into buying his book, basically. So anyway, that was that. So
that was a fun one to get through.
Yeah.
Next up for me is Melanie's Marvelous Measles, the anti-vax children's book.
Oh boy.
A point of contention for us, the only thing that really needed some clarification, is that we kind of got into a little bit of a semantic discussion about what exactly an illustration is. Because there's an illustrator credited for the book, but the pictures were sort of just like weirdly photoshopped or filtered images that clearly weren't hand-drawn or anything like that.
Or at least they really didn't. It was like, it looked like it was a bunch of like computer rendered stuff and like photos that had filters. I mean, maybe some of it was drawn, but it didn't really look like it.
All right. So turns out technically anything that's a picture that is an example of something or provides you like, here's what is in the text is an illustration. It does not have to be a sort of like hand drawn or even put together. Technically, like lithography, wood carving, sculpture all count as illustrations because they are depictions, examples of things, apparently.
Blowing my mind, Chris.
Exactly. So, because you're illustrating a thing, right? There's text in the book, and to illustrate it, as if like you're illustrating a point, you have this visual object or visual thing to take in, which is an illustration. So they would count, turns out.
Wow. Yeah, I always use the term illustration when I'm talking about something that was hand
definitely, and that's definitely
with like
the more
pen
common
or
use.
ink, and I had no idea that it could be
Anything that is an example to demonstrate, like, because you're, once again, illustrating a point is the example that I will use to sort of hammer the metaphor home there. So, turns out, hey, that illustrator credit is totally fine. We should not have given them shit about that particular point. It was the rest of the anti-vax stuff that they deserve shit for.
Well, once again, fuck me, I guess. Jesus.
I mean, I agreed with you at the time, so also fuck me.
Yeah. All right, so the next one's going to be fun. So episode 25 was Audubon's Watch.
A special one for us.
Yeah, it was special because I think it's time, Chris. I think it's time to tell the people. So you probably figured this out through context clues, but the author of Audubon's Watch is actually the one who emailed us long ago. He was our first piece of, I guess you could consider it hate mail.
Also, just plain old authorial response.
Yeah, it was brief. But one of his choice lines in his email was he said that what we do, meaning reading books and reviewing them, is gratuitously cruel. And so I was like, okay, when I re-listen to this episode, I'm going to think about it and decide if our review was gratuitously cruel. And honestly, it wasn't. We just didn't like the book, which happens when you review books as book reviewers. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but like, we didn't, and my original defense kind of remains the same. Like, we didn't engage in any ad hominem attacks. Like, we didn't say anything. We didn't say that the author was terrible. We even said that the writing was relatively competent. It just wasn't a style that we liked. We had problems with the plot points in the story, and I think that those were valid. Like, I don't know.
We weren't calling them names or saying like you should never write again.
No,
it was just like we didn't like this one. I think we were like even more gentle with this one than a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I know, and I was just like, I wonder if it was. I don't remember now if it was during that episode. That actual episode, or if it was in a later one that I had to re-listen to, but we were talking about how as musicians, as fellow artists, like authors, we have to deal with people critiquing our work and having things out in the world that aren't perfect. And like, I don't know. I mean, that just comes with the territory. Like, if you're an author, or a musician, or a dancer, or any like a carpenter, God, any type of person who makes a thing, which is, I feel like everyone, right? There's
not just entirely, but a good portion of people,
right? Like even the things you make at work, right? Like, it's not art, but say you write something at work and it has to get edited, or somebody's like, oh, there's a correction, like, I don't know, but maybe people don't take us kindly to that. But as artists ourselves, I mean, we know what it's like to get bad reviews and to have people say like things about our art that we don't particularly love. But I would never go out of my way to email someone who gave my music a bad review, or this podcast a bad review. Like, we didn't respond because there's no point in doing that. So yeah,
and their opinion is valid if they don't like it. Like, we're never going to please everybody.
That's fine. And like, I don't expect an author whose book we read to enjoy an episode of Terrible Book Club unless they're a reasonable person, I guess, or if it was a book we liked, maybe, because that does happen sometimes. And I think what he meant was like, he doesn't like the idea that we seek out things that we think will be bad to review them. But honestly, like, I don't see the problem with that. People seek out things they think are going to be good and read them, and we just do something slightly different. Like,
I never think we're really looking for something to dig into. Most of the time, if we end up pleasantly surprised, we end up pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, like, we review books and we review them honestly, and it made me think about it, and I honestly feel like a lot of actually, I could say this in the music industry as well, but a lot of book reviewers and a lot of music reviewers, they really are, I think, too gentle a lot of the time. Everyone is afraid of offending everybody else. Maybe people are paid to do these reviews, and it's just unfortunate because it means that people don't really get a fair critique of where they went wrong and what they did well. Instead, they just kind of get a generalized sprinkling of it's fine, and that doesn't really help anybody. So I don't think you need to be cruel. Like, I'm not saying that we need more reviews out there that are just bashing the material, but like, we need a good middle ground where you're being genuine about what you're saying in review. And it's, I mean, and this, don't get me wrong, like, this show isn't very serious, of course. You know, we read these books and we just kind of react to them and joke around and have a good time. Like, it's a show for people to have fun, maybe learn a thing, or maybe just laugh at us because we got something wrong, right? Like, we're not scholars. That was never the point, and we don't claim to be as such. So yeah, honestly, I don't think what we do is gratuitously cruel. But like you said, of course, people are allowed to have their opinion, and I know that this show doesn't appeal to everyone. Nothing appeals to everyone, right? Like, it's a little absurd. There are certain things that have a wider reach, but yeah. Anyway, I've gone on about that enough.
Yes.
So another thing, something that came up while we were reading it, is we asked, what's up with people watching bodies after they die? After someone dies. And like, after I read, I think I might have said on air it was because they wanted to make sure they were dead. And yeah, that is part of it. Because around that time, I believe, when does that book take place? Fuck.
19th century, 18th century-ish.
I just don't remember if it was in the Victorian era or not, but I think it was. I don't remember. Anyway, there was a pretty long period of time where people were really, really scared of being buried alive because, due to the fact that medical technology in the West wasn't quite far along, there were times where people got buried alive. It wasn't quite as common as like as books and media proclaimed it to be, but it did stir up quite a fear in people. And there was a whole industry of like weird gadgets based around this fear. There's some really great drawings of some things that existed. So one of the ones I think I love the most is, there's this really elaborate bell system where, so you're in your coffin, right? Mm-hmm. You're all snugged up in there. People think you're dead and you think you're dead. So you're dead to the waking world, Yes. It seems like you're dead. You get buried in your coffin. But before you go down, they tie a string tightly to your toe, to your big toe. And they make sure that string goes all the way up to the surface. So it sneaks out of the coffin all the way up through the dirt. And it's tied to a bell on a pole. So that
I've heard of this before.
When you wake up, you can wiggle your toe and they can dig you up and you won't really die. And there were all kinds. There were some with actual vents that went all the way. I think most of them, if people were investing in the bell, they were probably also investing in a vent. But they got vents that went all the way to the surface. And all I could think was like, what if it rains, dude? Like,
yeah.
Although, I don't know, hopefully they would be smart enough not to have just like a direct flat open thing, but who knows? But yeah, there were all sorts of like ridiculous things. So yeah, one of the reasons was to make sure the person was actually dead. The second thing that I found out that I didn't think of at the time was that grave robbing was a real problem. Mm-hmm. So the habit of like the wake of standing awake and watching a body for a day or two or three or whatever before they were buried was A, to make sure someone was dead, and B, to keep people from stealing their shit. Like, because a lot of people were buried with like jewelry or clothing or whatever that was expensive, and grave robbing was a real problem. So there you go. The last one I don't really have a specific answer for. I don't even know if there's really any use in talking about it again, but well, anyway, there is utility. So the last point from this episode was during the episode, Chris and I got into a little discussion about like, is the representation of a shitty thing in a book endorsement, or is it just a portrayal? This has come up a couple of times in the show, but it was like a particularly sticky point in this one. And it was in regards to slavery and racism in the book. And it's like, so the question, to be more clear about the specific work, is it okay to portray slavery and racism in a work of fiction when the larger work isn't specifically about race relations. So basically, in other words, is using African Americans as set dressing in a period piece acceptable? And I remember when we read it, and of course when I re-listened to the episode, I was really frustrated about it because there was a couple of lines. I mean, it wasn't frequent in the book, certainly. I think there were maybe like 2 lines or something by characters where they said explicitly racist things. And otherwise, all the African Americans in the book, both slave and otherwise, were silent. They had no agency in the work. They literally were props. And I remember I was really upset about it. And Chris and I kind of got into a discussion. We couldn't really come to a decision about whether, like, of course, if you're writing a book during a time where slavery existed, there's going to be the presence of enslaved African Americans, and like,
it would be disingenuous not to include them.
Yeah, like, I get it. But by the same token, I think you need to you need to flesh out those people so that they are people and not a fucking lamp. Like, I just feel like the African Americans were treated like furniture, and we discussed about like, okay, but was that an accurate way to portray these 2 men since we are reading this, since the book was written in first person from 2 people's perspectives, right? I don't think it ever went into like third person omniscient, right?
No, it didn't.
No. So like, it was tough, right? Because of course, if you're writing from the perspective of 2 relatively well-off, well-known, wealthy white folks during a time when slavery existed, it would be fairly common for people to have racist sentiments, to think that white people are better than black people. And of course, that's going to come up. I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to, but it probably will, right? And so there was a minor role in it in the book, and I guess I'm not really sure where I still am not really sure where I fall. I feel like maybe in the episode I was a little heavy-handed with saying like, this shouldn't have been in there. I can't believe it. Because the point Chris made, like, yeah, it would be kind of disingenuous not to include it, but I still think that there should be, I don't know, just a little more there. Like, I don't know.
Instead of having a bunch of slaves that live outside of the mansion or where most of the book takes place and the body watching happens, and most of what they do is like get scared about a storm happening, why don't you focus on 1 or 2 characters that happen to be enslaved and really flesh them out and bring them into the story as reasonable participants, even if they don't have a huge role in what the goings on are. At least considering, I think maybe if you just pared it down and really thought about 1 or 2 people that you could add, it would really help in this sense, instead of having, like I said, a whole cadre of background people. Yeah, that's a good point. That's also something I was thinking about. Like, there was like the butler at the fuck apartment or whatever. Yes. What was her name? Not Miranda. I didn't listen to that episode again, so
I know I did, and I still can't remember her name. But Myra's fuck apartment, where she goes to fuck dudes that aren't her husband. There's a butler there, that and I feel like getting inside that butler's head probably would have produced some interesting things, right? And at the house, yeah, like talking about, the slaves were afraid of a storm, and I don't know, that didn't sit well with me, because I was like, just because people are enslaved doesn't mean they're dumb and don't understand the weather. I don't really understand. Yeah. Like, I felt like that was kind of shitty, but again, it's a tough thing to wrestle with, and but I do think that if you're writing a story and there's going to be people of color in it, or people who are enslaved, or both, or like some other marginalized group, I guess my point is, if there is any kind of marginalized group in your work and you are not part of that marginalized group, you have to make extra effort to write about it in a way that is, I guess, accurate and compassionate. It doesn't have to, I'm not saying you can't have shitty characters in books. Like, of course, like, you need to you need to display those, like, you know, racist, abusive, you know, rapist, horrible characters. But like we can't live in a world where all of our media is squeaky clean and happy, of course, because then, you know, it's like, what are you even saying? Like, you're not even getting to the meat of anything. But I think there is a way to treat all that difficult stuff. Yeah, that I just think there's a better way. I guess I'm having trouble describing exactly how I imagine that would go, but
yeah, it's a tough thing to articulate a lot of it. I think we got the general point across here, though, honestly.
Yeah, I guess
of what we're, you know, it's still a murky subject, and I don't think we're going to come to a definitive this is the way you should do it, because this is the part of the artistry of it. There's never a clear answer. It's your job as the writer to figure out the best way to do it.
Yeah, and I guess my closing point is just that I do think I was a little too heavy-handed in the original episode, because I think I was just annoyed about the book as a whole, and it kind of crept into the way I thought about, you know, things in the book. And I do think that I was a little too hyperbolic.
All right, well, hey, score one for you, John Gregory Brown, John Jim Bob,
oh,
Tom.
Boy. Well, he won't find this because we're not going to have his name in the fucking text of the episode, which is how he found the first one. So
we'll see about that.
Anyway.
All right, moving on. We actually kind of go along with this. I don't know if we can cover all the things that we've actually done research into.
Oh, yeah, we are going to actually have to... Oh, my God, I forgot something very important. You know what, Chris? If you think your next one's going to be quick... Before we close, I do want to just read some YouTube comments from folks about some of the episodes that we already discussed, because I meant to do that.
Okay. How about this? Let's clip through some of the next few. We can stop at 30.
Oh, all right, sure.
All right. My next book that I had was You Suck, the vampire romancy thing that was a little bit sort of satirical and stuff like that.
Oh,
and we got into a little, because like the way that it was the second book in the series, and we were a little murky on exactly how vampires were created in this particular universe. So I went and did a little bit of general research on vampire lore, because that was kind of the whole thing. We were trying to figure out like all the different ways that vampires can get made. Turns out vampires are a pretty super common thing across almost all cultures. Some form of the undead or recently dead, or not even fully. Sometimes vampires are still considered living beings that have not died but just still feed off of flesh or blood or something like that. And they're all over the place. There's even an interesting commonality between Slavic and Chinese folklore that references vampires being created when an animal jumps over a corpse, especially a cat or a dog.
Cool.
So don't let your dog jump over your corpse, or you will rise from the dead. Also, traditionally, vampires
or definitely do, so that you definitely rise
Actually,
from the dead.
if you could do me one last favor, if just jump over my body after I'm dead, so I can rise and take care of you still. I might make you a vampire too, but you know. Also, an interesting point I came across was that, you know, modern day vampires, pale, skinny, sort of gaunt, and sort of like that. Most of the early form of vampires were actually more like purple and bloated in their description. That most of them were described as being sort of like red or purple in the face, bloated, and from like the blood of their victims, or even just having general blood spattered across their face and everything like that. Just an interesting little tidbit there about early style vampires. The recent like pale kind of vampire trend is like super recent. That's like a Dracula from like only from there on were they that kind of a thing.
Interesting.
And lastly, a nice interesting point is that there's a lot of different rituals across cultures to like stop people from rising from the dead. There's all kinds of like all people putting lemons in the mouth, or like putting lemons near them. Sometimes, like, because they get bloated, like a sickle was placed near the corpse so that if it got too bloated, the sickle would burst it literally, and then it would not be allowed to come back as some kind of flesh or blood feeding monster. Garlic also popular, you know, obviously that's where that came from.
I guess I just wonder why lemon and garlic though. Like what makes those things anathema to vampires? Like I never really understood that.
Almost any kind of food at some point, honestly, just like almost anything that like has a vaguely acidic or like spiciness to it was probably used as near a corpse to stop it from rising from the dead.
Honestly, I see lemon and garlic and I think that they must just be things that block the smell of death. right?
Could be, right? It
And
could
that's
just
probably
be
how it happened. I don't know. I'm just talking on my ass. That might not be right. But
I mean, there's so many different. The most interesting one that I read about was apparently some scientist or researcher posited he had found a corpse with a brick in its mouth, and he was like, "Oh, obviously that's an undead like vampire prevention ritual."
Oh my god! Do you know what I'm thinking about right now?
What?
Brick in your face. From that fucking rapper guy.
Yep.
He was actually helping you prevent vampires by stuffing bricks of coke in your face.
I think that might be Stitches.
I was gonna call him Stitcher. That's not right.
No, it's Stitches.
It's a podcast thing.
All right, that's all I have for you, sucker. Some interesting
wow,
vampire
great.
lore for you.
Oh,
Let's head on over to your next one.
Actually, I think that up to this point, there's only one. I'm sorry, I know this is a little out of order, but I want to go back to the YouTube comment somebody made on the Hoe Tactics video.
Okay.
I don't think there's any relevant ones before this episode that we covered. So, I don't know. I might have missed it. It's hard to keep track of fucking YouTube comments. So, some user, a YouTube user named Bella D, she was very upset at us. If this is considered stealing, then men cheating should also be a crime. Men are paying for the time of a woman much more attractive, not for an equal. They are not going to pay for the time of a gray-haired woman with no makeup. There is a balance between resources and an attraction factor. Men give hundreds of dollars to strippers, so obviously they don't mind parting from money to get their kicks. When a man is not offering to marry a woman should get paid for her time because aging detracts from her value, plus effort and cost of hair, makeup, dieting, etc. A man equally attractive to the woman is not a target. The lure is that she is the most attractive woman he can get attention from. The imbalance of looks is compensated by resources.
Are you okay, lady? Did someone hurt you? Because
yeah,
sounds like you had a rough time, and I'm sorry.
Fucking calm the fuck down, Bella D. I don't know.
I'm sorry that it went that way for you.
Like, if she clearly I'm assuming this person, clearly, I'm not really sure if this person. I wonder if this person listened to the episode and understands that like we didn't write the book. Because like I think that at some point during the episode we did say that a lot of what the author was suggesting women do was fraud. It was kind of like steal, although it wasn't really stealing because they're just convincing men to give them gifts, right? But it's under false pretenses, and that's why we considered it fraud. Like if you tell someone, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna, oh, I love you so much, baby. Oh, pay for my vacation. And they pay for your vacation and then you fucking disappear from their life. Like, they're gonna feel cheated because
now
you deceived them.
It's not like litigatable fraud.
Right, of course not. Yeah, and so she seemed seemed very upset about that. She thinks that if a man isn't going to marry a woman, then they need to pay for their time. Which is there are a lot of layers to that I don't even want to get into, but
yeah, we're trying to wrap this up fairly quick. So
man, yeah. So what we've learned about being on YouTube is that YouTubers are salty as fuck. Oh man, they're so mad all the time.
Can't wait for more YouTube comments.
Actually, no, I will say the ones for the episode I'm about to talk about for the Dragon Prince were pretty good. I had some like fun little conversations with people in the comments. They were real nice. So even though they had some clarifications for us and some disagreements, they were generally quite lovely folks. Yeah. So there's one person who gave us a lot of detail, and it was interesting. So I won't read the whole thing, but if any of it's relevant, actually, the first thing I'm going to talk about is relevant. So episode 27 was Dragon Prince, which was a patron request, and I think our first patron request. And
indeed.
Our first question here is, do people eat fruit like this?
yeah.
Because so in the audio of the episode, I said that there were two distinct scenes where two different types of fruit had their skins sucked off and thrown on a plate and only their insides were ingested. But the YouTube commenter was like, hey, I only found one scene with the grapes. You mentioned a second scene with peaches, but I couldn't find it. Unfortunately, I didn't really have the time to see if I could find the peach scene, but whatever. But in any case, we'll just use the grape scene. Yeah, there's a scene where somebody's eating grapes, in a very George R. R. Martin fashion. We're getting fucking play-by-plays of someone eating a food. And it says that they pick up the grape, they suck out the inside, and they throw the skin on a plate. All right. I was just like, I mean, it just seems weird. And I remember, during the episode, you and I were like, I don't know, maybe there were, pesticides on the outside, but then it's like, why are you putting it in your mouth anyway if there are pesticides on it?
Yeah.
So we couldn't really come up with a reason. And I want to see if this YouTube commenter came up with a reason. He left
I'm also on this lengthy.
Your bit on the fruit confused the hell out of me, so I went to look for that line. Here we go. Andrade popped a grape into her mouth and split the skin with her teeth, drawing off the sweet juices before spitting out the remains into a silver bowl provided for the purpose. Maybe it's just awkwardly written? I always took it to mean that she was spitting out the seed, but I don't know. I can't remember anything about a peach. But I don't know that was the line I was even thinking about. So, but again, it's been a really long time, and honestly, I wish I had had more time to go and double check the actual text of the book. But I remember a more specific scene where it was where they pulled the skin out of their mouth and put it on a plate.
I remember that one too.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I could have made a mistake and maybe this person is right. But obviously, if you split the skin with your teeth and then spit out the remains, they're probably, sure, that's a grape with a seed in it. But I don't know. So we're still a little confused about that.
Mystery on that one.
Yeah, but...
all right, let's keep it moving here, Perry.
Yeah. So in the episode, this is another one for another fucking X on my fucking report card. I said Dranat is like plant heroin, which is a redundancy because heroin comes from plants, and I knew that. And when I said it, I was like, "Fuck!" But I was like, "Oh well, whatever." But it's been bothering me, so I know that heroin comes from plants, comes from the poppy plant. I understand that. It was just, again, this is why we're doing this. But I basically, Dranath is different because in the books, the drug Dranath cures the plague in 80% of people that are afflicted. So I'm pretty sure heroin isn't fucking curing anything. So it's not quite the same. People definitely have used heroin as a quote unquote medicine, but it's really just a pain reliever. It doesn't actually fix anything, right? And it's highly addictive, obviously. More so now because it's rarely in its pure form. But yeah, and the YouTube person did have some. Sorry, I should mention this person was very nice. Their name is Kassir. That's your username. They were really cool, so I appreciate how nice they were about it. Because they still enjoyed the episode, even though they really love the series. Because I mean, we didn't hate it. We had some issues with
confused
it.
About certain.
So confused, yeah. And again, it's they made the point. Actually, a couple people have made the point that when you read the whole series, a lot of the things make more sense. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But I thought about it and I was like, if you write a book, it should be able to stand on its own, right? You should, you can't. Of course, if you have a mystery or something, that's one thing. But when we have a problem understanding the world, I feel like that's that's a real issue. Yeah. So anyway, where's the drug thing? They also clarified the rape scene, which is my next point. As for the Dranath, sorry, this is what the YouTube commenter says. It is addicting, but not overly so at first. It is easily beatable at first, if you know exactly what it is and how it can affect you. Krigo, the Faradi enslaved by Rolstra, hasn't a clue, and when he first feels the symptoms, he, of course, reaches for the drug-infused wine. Thus, taking more of it, he is making it so that the next time he experiences the withdrawal, it's going to be more of a painful experience than the first. Eventually, he's enslaved and can't do anything about it. Sinead is able to be weaned off because she is only given one dose, and the book goes into some detail about how she's feeling the effects. Dranath is an important plot point in future books when some characters go through absolute hell when dealing with it. After the first few times, he willingly swallowed the wine, Krieger would never be able to deal with the symptoms, having only been drugged once. Sinead was. So I don't know. I'm still like not super convinced by that explanation. So they're basically saying that like it's not like you need more than one dose to become addicted to it, or but I don't know. It still seems a little weird to me, but it was a long time ago, so
yeah,
I don't know. But I still feel like it was a little inconsistent. Yeah, I don't know. Because I feel
it was very murky the whole time. I still don't have a clear picture, even after that comment.
Yeah. All right. So the Dranoff, I just wanted to make a point that, like, I know that heroin is made from plants. I just misspoke. It was dumb. My next question is, what's up with male rape and, like, like fetishistic or like non-vanilla sex in fantasy novels? Like, what is the deal with that? We talked about it briefly because we were like, God damn it, can we read a fantasy novel where these things don't happen? Because I feel like we were hit with fucking Wizard's First Rule, we were hit with Dragon Prince, and it was like, fuck, like that both of those things happen in both novels, and we're like, what is up with this? Like, is this like, why can't we get away from this in fantasy novels? Those things started to become a trope, and I guess I don't really have a straight up answer for this.
It continues. I started watching the Outlander TV series, and let me tell you, Paris,
that's right.
You want to talk about gratuitous rape?
Yeah, I don't know. People just trying to fucking work things out, and it's all in fantasy novels, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, that season finale of season 1 is that's a lot of time they dedicated to something, man. That's all I'm gonna say.
You.
Be careful with that series, please, if you're sensitive to that kind of material.
Yeah. So I guess I don't really have an answer, but I will say that, yeah, I don't know what it is about fantasy novels.
It's because it's real and raw and it's dangerous, so no one's getting murdered, but someone still gets really hurt.
No, I think it's because it's the opposite. Actually, I think it's because it's fantasy. It's not real, so we can, we think we can indulge in these things that we would never write about if we were writing a modern novel. At least, a novel. Yeah, right. Jesus, my brain is fucked. I don't know. I mean, maybe I just don't read a lot of contemporary fiction, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, I feel like the male rape thing is definitely tougher to find in your like contemporary fiction. Mm-hmm. The non-vanilla sex, though, that's kind of become more popular with the advent of 50 Shades of Grey, where people found out about anal beads, and now housewives are all about it or whatever.
Sure.
I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not doing a very good job with this, but I failed. I failed you. I'm sorry, but you failed me more, so I feel less bad. This whole episode is
us admitting our fault here. We're already up on like 2 hours of it, so if this isn't enough for you,
oh my god, how are we not done with this yet?
Listen, we got to get to 30, and then that's it. I think we can cut it off there.
Yeah, and then part 2 will be the other 30. Fuck. What was up with the light bubble during the final fight between Rolstra and Rohan? Yeah. Actually, very helpful YouTube person, also pointed something out about that. Yeah. It said that it's okay. So their explanation is kind of, again, like, oh, you didn't read the rest of the series. And I'm like, well,
of course.
Again, I think a book should be able to stand on its own. So I kind of am not into that explanation. But they do mention that Sinead created a dome of light to stop interference from Rolstra, so no knife could come suddenly flying through the air should Rohan start to win in the duel. So the light bubble was to keep external parties from interfering in the fight, which actually does make a lot of sense. I don't know why we didn't realize that when we were reading the book.
Sometimes,
Yeah, sometimes we miss stuff. So, yeah. So that was kind of dumb that we missed that. So thanks, YouTube person. You have been very helpful.
Yeah, that's a great comment to have. That's a great comment. Even if we don't agree with every point, it's a great comment.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that was all I had for Dragon Prince.
All right, so we'll do my final one for this episode of us prostrating ourselves before you and showing our flaws. It was the crossing over episode, actually, with John Edward, famous ghost talker guy. And there was one part where...
John Edward, ghost talker.
Yeah. There was one part where there was a scene where a lady was on a pier during a shoot. It was like one of the camera crew or
I remember this.
Film crew ladies.
Yes.
And there was like a manatee that came up to her and walked away while she was on the pier. And John Edward was like, well, you might think it's just a manatee walking up there, but manatees aren't around that time of year because they were in like Miami or something.
Yeah.
And look, man, hey, the manatees are there fucking year round. That's why there's like 24/7 fucking manatee tours going on in Florida all the time. They're around. There's like, sure, there's more of them during mating seasons, but they're still just kind of fucking hanging around all the time. There's plenty of them in Florida. If you're hanging out on a pier, it's reasonable that one might walk up to you for a minute and walk away. It's not your dead husband trying to contact you. It's just a manatee. He's kind of hungry and he's curious about what you look like.
You keep saying that the manatee is walking up to you. Manatees swim.
Waddle.
Chris, they don't walk up to you.
They go on lands, don't they?
No.
They don't?
No.
They're like seals, right?
No, manatees are not seals. I don't think they go on. Oh god, now I gotta fucking Google this.
No, you talk about your thing, Swamplandia, and then I'll Google.
But
manatee on land.
Pretty sure manatees don't walk up to people. In the book, the manatee swam up to her at the end of the pier. But anyway, so my
okay,
last...
well, there's the first link on Google is like an article like amazed that a manatee was walking up to like some banana leaves. So you're right, I was wrong. They swim.
Yeah, they swim. They're not.
I thought they were like seals.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought they were just another fat sea creature.
I mean, yeah, but they're not quite as similar. Anyway, my final episode is episode 29, Swamplandia, which is a book we actually loved. So, my first question was, did the 10,000 Islands exist in Florida? Yes, I had that as a question because, we had our guest Laura on, who's from Florida. She was just trying to make a joke, but it sounded like she was being very serious about the 10,000 Islands not existing. They definitely do. Like, where the book takes place in the 10,000 Islands in Florida, that's a real place. Second was... what's up with Kiwi learning how to fly planes at an amusement park? Was he really flying a plane or was he just learning on a simulator? And honestly, no idea.
Yeah, it's very unclear.
It was really hard to even try to go back and figure it out. I was like, it seemed like he was learning on a simulator in the amusement park and then was able to actually translate that to a real plane. But I don't even know why there was a legit flight simulator at the amusement park.
I'm pretty sure you still got to go up with a trainer in a real plane before they just let you start doing flights.
Well, that's the thing. When he was doing that, when he rescued them, he was. But I still don't understand. Why would an amusement park be training a custodian, a regular worker, how to fly a plane? That question was still never really answered for me, and I don't know. But I have one last funny thing. So like I said, YouTube folks are fucking mad at everything. They hate everything. They're so mad. I don't know what's up with YouTube, but man, the fucking assholes come out. Sorry, I just want to bring up the comment on the Swamplandia video.
Oh.
So we actually really liked Swamplandia. I thought it was a great book.
I liked it too.
I thought it was awesome. We really loved it. It was such a surprise, such a wonderful, refreshing surprise. Thought Karen Russell's work was great. We have a single down vote on the video, and there is a comment that says, "The book was nominated for the Pulitzer Prize, folks. Russell's stories are routinely published in The New Yorker. She's far from terrible." Yeah, thanks, Word Rubble. If you had fucking listened to 5 seconds of the episode or even just read the fucking summary, you would see that we loved the book. Literally, you don't even have to click you know how if a summary on a video is too long, you have to click show more to see all the text? You don't even have to do it. Nope. The first line of the description is, this time on Terrible Book Club, we read a book that wasn't truly terrible. Wow, it happened. And also, like, even if you didn't listen to the whole episode, even if you just read the description, you would know that we said it was great and we loved it. So, like, fuck off, people who don't even think for half a second before you write a comment on something.
So, we've been wrong for the last 2 hours or so, but also, fuck you, because, God damn it, you're wrong too this time.
No, look, Word Rebel, you know, if you're running around trying to chastise people and telling them they're idiots on YouTube, like, maybe think about it for a second, you know? I actually haven't checked out his, this guy's profile. Let's see.
Oh, here we go. Some little quick doxing.
He's got 4... It's not doxing. This is publicly available information.
I know.
He's got 4 subscribers. He's got 2 videos that I'm not sure what they are. One of them looks like he's just holding a book up to a camera.
This is the terrible book here.
Yeah, one of his videos is a look at the book The Gorgeous Nothings, photographs of Emily Dickinson's poetry that she scribbled onto envelopes, and The Seed Thieves, a collection of poetry by Robert Fanning. So he basically just, like, shows you what these books look like, you know, just shows you images of the books. Okay, cool. So, I don't know, it's probably just somebody who's, like, really, really into books, which is fine, so are we, but, I don't know, I just feel like that kind of...
Don't be so hasty.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah, dude. But we have a policy of not directly responding to people who are... people that we think are probably going to be problematic. So we don't...
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so, like, if somebody leaves a really angry or, like, negative comment or review, it's, like, it's not really worth our time to respond to that. Because, like, you know, we do this as a hobby. We don't make money on this.
Well, Paris, we did just spend 2 hours talking about how wrong we are. So, I mean, in a way, we spent some time about that.
Sure, but we don't spend time on people who... I don't know.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing up the point that, like, it's not like we're responding to all those particular criticisms, but we're willing to talk about when we're wrong.
Absolutely. Like, you know, we're not, like I said, we're not fucking experts. This is just fun. So, anyway. All right, that's about it. Because episode 30 was the last time we did the game show thing, and you read chakra crystals, and we discussed how weird that whole situation was, because it was like a lady with a doctorate was writing about chakra crystals. Anyway.
Yeah, nothing much there to actually clarify, because we did a good amount of research.
So we're going to do part 2, and maybe we'll release it. Maybe we'll do a special release and release it kind of off schedule, like do an extra release. We'll see how much time we have. I have a busy weekend. Like, I have a wedding to go to tomorrow. It's going to take up my whole day, and then I have to release that EP for my band. So, and I have to do laundry, and then I have to work the whole week. So we
better get all up on that then, Paris.
Yeah.
Luckily we don't have to do the show closing, so we can just say goodbye right here and just be off.
Oh, or do we want to tell people about what July is going to be? Or do we
Actually, yeah, that's how we'll wrap this up. Finally, after 2 hours, the big present you get for listening all the way through is that July here at Terrible Book Club is Maradonia month.
Yep. Get ready. We are answering the call. We are returning to Maradonia exactly 4 years from the time that we first stepped foot in this realm. So
Maya and Joey, Chris and Paris, the two separate hero teams that step into Maradonia.
So our patron Dari, her book for this year, for the new year. So so our patrons at a certain level get to choose one book a year that we read for them, because we're a small show, and you know that's fine. And so Dari chose the Dragon Prince book in 2017, 2018. I don't remember when that episode happened, but for 2019, she has chosen the second Maradonia book. So we're going to read that for her. And then after that, we're going to read the third one, because one of our longtime listeners, Bobby, actually saved episode 11, the episode about the first Maradonia book for us. So it would have been one of the lost episodes were it not for him. So even though he's not a patron, he saved an old episode for us, and he has been a listener to the show for I think since the beginning. So thanks for your support. We're gonna go ahead and read that for both of you and any of our
finally you are receiving your reward.
Yeah, any of our other Maradonia fans out there. We're gonna do a Maradonia marathon. I don't know. Maradonathon. July will be the month of Maradonia. And for the Patreon content, it'll also be specially themed for Maradonia. So since we've already watched the full-length Maradonia film, and that's still available, by the way, at the $5 a month level or higher, you too can watch that movie with us and enjoy it. We think that we're going to probably just queue up a bunch of YouTube videos related to Maradonia. So probably like old interviews with Gloria and her dad, and like her music videos where she raps as Goldilocks or whatever. So yeah, we'll have a fun time making some jokes about some other media that this author has created. So if you want to join us,
forward to it.
If you want to join us for that, join the Patreon at the $5 a month level or higher. But July, the month of Maradonia. Dun, dun.
All right, Paris, this has been our longest episode ever. I'll see you later.
I'm sorry. Bye, everyone.
Bye.